Hello, welcome again to FAIRtax Power Radio. I'm Bob Paxton.
I'm Bob Scarborough.
And we are
So,
the FAIRtax Guys,
yes.
complete with our usual 11 by 11 Fat Albert Rubik's Cube and your scrolling banner over there.
Now you can go to the FAIRtaxStore.org and you can find one of these, but you won't be able to find a Rubik's Cube that big.
No, they don't sell Rubik's Cubes on FAIRtax.org, but you can get one of the scrolling banners and take it to a Wake Forest basketball game and stand behind the basket so when somebody's shooting a free throw, you can get on camera with it.
And that's the other thing too, and I didn't mention it last week, when you get one of these, and you can go on to the website, FAIRtaxStore.org, the FAIRtaxStore.org, and you can get to it through FAIRtax.org as well. But you get you one of these, and you get you a box of the index cards, which have the prebate information on it, and then there's a palm card that you can get as well. Those are free. This is going to cost you a few dollars, but you can get the cards and have them with you and use them when you meet someone who you haven't talked to before. It might be at a drive-through, it might be a restaurant, it might be your doctor's nurse, it might be, your friend or neighbor or next door neighbor, postal worker. They all can benefit. We all can benefit from the FAIRtax, and those pieces of paper, those cards, provide enough information to get people interested. And then, of course, your encouragement to help them get further information if they so need to do it. And just a great opportunity. And there's shirts and some hats on the website and just show your support for the FAIRtax.
Yeah, we will have to take some of those to Mr. Barbecue when we go to lunch here in a few weeks. Leave some of those for the folks around there. Again, on October 20th, we will be doing our FAIRtax Power Radio show live on WTOB, 8 o'clock that Sunday morning. So if you're listening over the air or over one of the internet streams, hopefully you'll give us a call. We'd love to talk to some folks. So the past couple of years, we need to generate some interest here. We need to get some folks to call up and talk to us about the FAIRtax. But we're still happy to be there on the radio station, and we're still on in South Carolina, and what's the other place? It's Statesville.
Several stations that are there are several stations in that group now that reach all the way into Asheville.
Okay. Good. Asheville. That's where Laura McHugh is, your state director there in North Carolina.
Yes.
Fine lady. Okay, but again, it will be live on the air with FAIRtax Power Radio Sunday, October 20th on WTOB. We'll, of course, be videoing that and playing it back on our regular Facebook and YouTube channels. But if you'd like to talk to the FAIRtax Guys live, that is your opportunity. We'll give you the phone number there shortly. And if you'd like to join us for lunch at Mr. Barbecue the next day, you can do that as well. So there's lots of space there.
That's right. And if it's a nice day, we'll be eating in the garden area outside.
They have a garden area outside. It's been a while since I've been there.
It's the outdoor, picnic area, yeah, with tables and chairs and whatnot, and you can eat outdoors now. It's a great facility. Those of you who live around the Winston-Salem area know Mr. Barbecue and know that Mr. Paxton, who grew up in Winston-Salem, I think his mama and daddy pureed made it into like a Gerber baby food kind of deal for him. So he ended up with the desire is still within him for Mr. Barbecue. And once you try it, you know that you'll always be going.
Well, North Carolina barbecue is different from barbecue in most other places. Yeah. And in fact, actually, there are two primary styles of North Carolina barbecue. The Lexington style there, which is originated in Lexington, not far from Winston-Salem. That's what Mr. Barbecue serves. They serve something whole hog barbecue, vinegar-based, that's farther in the eastern section of the state. I had that when I lived in Durham. But North Carolina barbecue is wonderful. It has nothing to do with the FAIRtax, but we're enjoying coming up there to do our FAIRtax Power Radio show live on October 20th. So put that on your calendar and have at it. So let's move right along. Normally, at this point in the program, we would rub the hands together and say, all right, let's see what the Congress critters are doing to the tax code again. But what the Congress critters are doing to the tax code again right about now is nothing, because Congress is not in session. They are all home campaigning. So
Yeah.
there has been nothing new in the inbox there at the House of Representatives relative to new bills regarding changes to the tax code. So that there's nothing to look at, and we probably won't have anything for another couple of weeks, because right now the Congress critters are engaging in the most important activity that they ever do, and that is get reelected. So
That's
whatever.
exactly from the first they get in office till the re-election. That's what they do, and it's an incredible part of the process. And the tax code bears a considerable amount of significance in how our representatives raise money to get reelected. Because if I'm not mistaken, I heard where it's $13,000 or $14,000 a day that has to be generated to mount a successful reelection campaign, or at least stay in the running.
There's got to be a better way to do that, but that's really not our axe to grind. We're trying to get rid of the income tax and replace it with a fair tax. And in the next few weeks, when your Congress critters are going to be more accessible than usual, and actually more receptive to listening to what you have to say than usual, this would be a good idea to bring up the fair tax. And if your congressman or congress-lady is a fair tax supporter, thank them for their support. If they're not, ask them what they love so much about the income tax and the IRS, and why they think the government is a higher spending priority than buying milk for the baby. Because with the income tax, you feed the government before you feed your family. With the fair tax, that's the other way around. You do not take a dime out of your own pocket to pay the fair tax until after you have met your basic necessities, because all of the tax you pay on your basic necessity spending is refunded to you in the prebate. So we'll just toss that out again. But again, we have no Congress.gov to dig into this week, which means we have got more time, as we mentioned last week, to dig into your favorite reading material, IRS Publication 17. Now,
and sometimes you have to read the sections twice just to kind of make sure you're in the IRSE's dialect, because it's completely different from the English language as we communicate on a regular day-to-day basis.
But when I looked up Publication 17 for 2023 tax year, that's the most recent one. I imagine there'll be another one when tax filing season rolls around here for 2024, not too far from now. Yeah. But the 2023 version of Publication 17, this is just struck me as incredibly ironic. The PDF version of it I'm looking at, 142 pages long. The fair tax bill, 131. So the instructions for dealing with the income tax code is longer, more voluminous. I guess that's a nice word there. There are more pages in the instructions for how to deal with your tax code, with the income tax, than there are in the entire fair tax bill. It's insane.
Right, Scott. So in the first few pages, you get the contents, table of contents, and all that. You got a nice, pretty picture on the front when you get there. Page 3 starts out with what's new, and
this is what's new for 2023. Changes from the previous year to the most recent year, and it's over a page long, and each page has 4 columns on it. And there's a lot of stuff crammed into what's new. If you want to look at how unstable and ever-changing the tax code is, just take a look at this first page of Publication 17. Let's go through some of this stuff.
Okay, and we don't have the benefit of the person who wrote it. I'm sure they're just sitting in a white room with this nice little white jacket on right now, because the what's new part summarizes important tax changes that took effect in 2023, which is we just got through doing our taxes. And for those of you who are still, you have the extension, you have until the middle of October. most of the changes are discussed in more detail throughout the publication, the 142 pages. So the due date of the return is April 15th. If you live in Massachusetts, it's April 17th. And of course, the extension would send it off into the fall.
Of course, the due date kind of is going to bump up by a year every year. But we're always talk about different tax credits that the Congress critters are constantly putting into the tax code. And under the what's due section for last year's taxes, additional child tax credit amounts increased. The maximum additional child tax credit has increased to $1,600 for each qualifying child. So they're constantly messing with the numbers. And then there is a new clean vehicle credit. The credit for new qualified plug-in electric drive motor vehicles has changed. This credit is now known.
I thought they meant it had been washed up and shined out real nice. What means here?
But it says this credit is now known as the clean vehicle credit. The maximum amount of the credit and some of the requirements to claim the credit have changed. It's still reported on Form 8936, Schedule 3, line 6F. For more information, there's go look at the form. But the new clean vehicle credit changed.
And now there's, I didn't know that there was a market for previously owned clean vehicles, but now there's a credit for those too. Folks that have driven their clean vehicle for a minute are now getting a tax credit for previously owned clean vehicles. Credit is available for previously owned clean vehicles acquired and placed in service after 2022. And of course, the same Form 8936 takes care of that. Can you imagine trying to connect the dots all through the 1040 form? You have to have this. This is where all the action is in publication 17. Yep, previous clean vehicle. I thought I'd have to go out and get some wax and, a vacuum cleaner and clean the car out and all of this other stuff. But it's not talking about a clean vehicle. I was wondering how they were going to tell. But we're talking about the EVs, the electric vehicles, and so on.
And hopefully the technology to run vehicles on hydrogen will come around as well. But so far, clean vehicle, they usually call those EVs. Of course, don't want to get too deep in the weeds here, but the unclean stuff that comes out of the power plants that generate the electricity to charge the clean vehicles, if you look at the big picture, clean vehicles aren't quite as clean as they claim they are. But anyhow, let's go on here. Who must file has been changed. The amount of income you can earn before you have to file a return has been increased. The standard deduction's been changed. But here's where it starts to get fun. New lines on Schedule 3 of Form 1040. Schedule 3 has some new lines. 5A will be used to report the residential clean energy credit from Form 5695. Line 5B will be used to report the energy efficient home improvement credit from Form 5695. The tax code is just constantly shifting. And you skip up to the top of the next column. Line 6M, it's a new one, will be used to report the credit for previously owned clean vehicles we just talked about. And line 13C will be used to report the elective payment election amount on Form 3800. What's new? This reminds me, we're going to have to use that little, the little one, the lunch and taxes video that we run at the end of every one of these things. We're going to have to use the one. Oh no, this isn't my tax plan. This is just the changes from last year's tax plan. Yeah, right. That's what we're looking at here.
Hey, I got a great idea. I got a great idea, Mr. Cotter. Mr. Cotter.
Go ahead.
The fair tax. If you've been just tearing your eyes out listening to us for just the last few minutes, talking about what publication 17 has that's new. And of course, 17 is the guideline for filling out your tax forms. The amount of paper, 143 pages, is longer than the FAIRtax bill itself, which is what, 134 or something like that?
I think it's 131 pages. The publication 17 here is 142. So it takes more paper to describe how to deal with the income tax than it does to really put the entire fair tax into law.
And then there's the poor guy who probably is the most recent person hired by the Internal Revenue Service who gets to work with Publication 17 or maybe that's the punishment job at the IRS, is dealing with this voluminous instruction manual, 142 pages. But there's people that, have this in their head and they live for it because, well, hey, it's the job they got. Credits for qualified sick and family leave wages paid in 2023 for leave taken before April 1st, 2021, and for leave taken after March 31st, 2021, and before October 1st, 2021, are now reported on Schedule 3, line 13Z. What happens when you go to line 13? Is it A? Would it be AA after that? If there had to been
if they go beyond Z, I would guess so. But again, the fact that there is all of this stuff under what's new, that's just changes from last year from 2022 to 2023. The alternative motor vehicle credit has expired. I guess they replaced that with the clean vehicle credit.
Yes.
Self-employed health insurance deduction, use Form 7206 and its instructions to determine any amount of that. The qualified charitable distribution one-time election, the required minimum distribution age, at which point you have to start taking money out of your tax-deferred retirement account. That has changed. If you reach age 72 in 2023, now it says, the required beginning date for your first required minimum distribution is April 2025. See Publication 590B for more information. More and more stuff keeps changing. The more things stay the same, the more things keep changing at the IRS. This is insane.
But the IRA contribution limit has increased, beginning with the filing for tax year 2023. The limit increased from $6,500, which is $7,500 for individuals age 50 and older, and from $6,000 to $7,000 for individuals age 50 and older. So you get a little bit more of an incentive there from a quote unquote quasi positive situation. But the thing is, with HR 25, the IRA is a place where you just pack all your money for benefits, and the contributions are, I would think they would be unlimited after passage of
with a fair tax, an IRA is no longer necessary because an IRA lets you stash away money pre-tax before you pay any tax on it. You stick it in your IRA and then it doesn't count as part of your income, so it's not taxed at that point. But with a fair tax, no income from any source at any time is ever going to be taxed. So you don't need there's no such thing as pre-tax and after-tax dollars with the fair tax, because all of your dollars are pre-taxed. Your dollars are not taxed until you choose to spend them with a fair tax. So we don't need IRA contribution limits. We don't need deferred compensation contribution limits. That's the next item here. That was increased. Eligible retired public safety officers can now exclude up to $3,000 of their distributions from their income. And again, with the fair tax, all income from all sources is all yours. None of that is taxed before you get it. Exception to the 10% additional tax for early distributions. It's just mind-boggling to go through this one little section of Publication 17 and see what has changed from one year to the next. Now, if you went back, I'm thinking if we went back and did 10 years worth of this and put all the what's news together, you'd probably have, a couple of dozen pages of changes from one, and the fair tax just stays the same from year to year.
Now, I got a question for you, because this is important, because you can never get the same answer twice from someone at the Internal Revenue Service if you can get them on the phone. They're still working off DOS 1.0. I believe that they're going to upgrade their computers. At least they have a ton of money that they can do that with. But how do you know that Publication 17 is totally accurate? Because if something over here And then
Yeah,
you
but
get
by the time after publication 17 is sent to the printing press, the Congress critters are still messing with the tax code. So what's in there could be outdated by the time you read it.
right.
That's
And then there's a section at the very top of the What's New page on publication 17 called Future Developments. For the latest information about the tax law topics covered in this publication, such as legislation enacted after it was published, go to irs.gov/pub17. That's what
okay.
I think I'm going to do. I think I'm going to go to Washington, D.C. and open up a bar and call it Pub 17.
All right. If you look down here on the second page of this second column, tax law changes for 2024. When you figure how much income tax you want withheld from your pay, I don't want any income tax withheld from my pay. I want to get every dollar that I earn. And when you figure estimated tax, consider tax law changes effective in 2024. For more information, see publication 505. All this what's new section. We've used just about all of the program here going into this what's new section. There's something else that was kind of cool as well that we found out. If you scoot down to this is page 4, publication 17 has actually had a lot of it pulled out of it. A bunch of chapters were removed from publication 17 and put into their own publications at all. What used to be chapter 6, dealing with tip income, has now been removed from 17. It is now publication 531, reporting tip income. Dividends and distributions is now publication 550. Rental income and expenses is now publication 527. There's a couple dozen of these things where publication 17 portions of it have been split out into something else. And
Yeah.
so the tax code is just constantly growing. And apparently all of the instructions that it takes to deal with it is constantly growing. And that just goes away with the fair tax. The fair tax is so simple. It will be so stable. Congress will be able to adjust the rate if they want to. But then again, if you do that, it affects everybody. All of their changes and changes and changes and changes to the income tax that you and I never see because they don't apply to us.
Right.
So, but if we don't know what they're doing, we don't care. It doesn't apply to us. But then if you change the rate on the fair tax, yeah, that will apply to us. We would see that. So again, publication 17, 142 pages worth of stuff. But I've got to go down to page, let's see, I believe it is 77. There it is on page 77, third column, almost all the way to the bottom. Our favorite piece of publication 17 is still there. If you steal property, you must report its fair market value in your income in the year you steal it, unless you return it to its rightful owner in the same year. That is part of the official instructions on dealing with the tax code. The tax code requires you to report the fair market value of anything you steal. How many people do you think are actually going to comply with that portion of the tax code? Bet
Yeah,
nobody.
Sorry. Yeah, I'm just, I left that lawnmower over, behind your shed about 2 weeks ago. And, so please, understand it wasn't meant to be a 6-month, borrowing situation. Stolen property is on here. And also the fact that you can, if you're in the business of selling, illegal substances, you have to report that income. That's listed in here.
Yeah. But I guarantee people who steal lawnmowers or people who steal anything else, people who sell drugs, people who sell themselves on the street corner, they don't report that income on their income tax. But every one of those folks buy things. And those people will become taxpayers under the fair tax. We talk about this a lot, how the fair tax will all but eliminate. It won't eliminate 100% of it, but it will eliminate about 95% of the illegal evasion that is currently plaguing the income tax system. We've had a professional CPA do a study on that, and he concluded that the tax evasion would be reduced by like 95%. Now, with evasion standing at about $1 trillion a year, $950 billion more that is owed and not collected by the current system comes in under the fair tax. You talk. I'm amazed that the Congress critters don't want to put the fair tax in because it gives them so much more money to play with.
Yeah, exactly. Here's a couple of little known reporting requirements, income reporting requirements. If you maintain space in your home and you've paid for this space for like emergency foster care, you must include the payment in your income. Jury duty pay you receive must be included in your income on Schedule 1, Form 1040, line 8H. If you gave any of your jury duty pay to your employer because your employer continued to pay you while you served on jury duty, include the amount you gave your employer as an income adjustment on line Schedule 1, Form 1040, line 24A, and see the instructions there. So
how many people have any idea that they're supposed to do that if they get called for jury? Of course, I'm over 70 now, so I'm exempt from jury duty if I want to be. But
yeah.
but that is just insane. And I say our time is just all gotten away from us right now, and we have just barely gotten into it. So if you want to see the monstrosity, if you want a real right before your eyes living example of the monstrosity we have as a tax code, just go to, you can Google up IRS Publication 17. They'll get a link to it. And you can take a look at what we're looking at. It just is crazy that we, the people, we, the taxpayers of this great nation, continue to put up with a tax system that requires 142 pages worth of instructions on what you're supposed to do, many of which refer you to other publications. I wonder how I guess this is considered part of the 70,000, almost 80,000 pages that comprise our current tax code. That's just crazy. And it all goes away with the fair tax. So we would certainly invite people to get involved with the fair tax movement. Talk to your congressional representatives. Talk to the candidates that are running. Tell them you are sick of the IRS. You are sick of the government taking a big chunk of your money before you get it. You want the fair tax because, again, once you understand it, you'll demand it. No question about it whatsoever.
Is getting friends, your neighbors and all. It's truly a grassroots effort. I think we need to underscore that. Take a moment wherever you might be today or wherever you might be in the next week and let folks know about fair tax. All you have to do is say, do you know about the fair tax? And if not, tell them.
Of course, encourage them to watch the podcast here. We are live and streaming every Tuesday evening, 8 p.m. Eastern Time on the FAIRtax official Facebook page. Well, the FAIRtax Guys also have a YouTube channel. The archive of all the previous shows are there. We put another archive up on Rumble. There's places to do it. So watch the videos, share the videos, and then get involved with getting rid of the income tax and replacing it with the fair tax. That's going to be it for this edition of FAIRtax Power Radio. We're slap out of time again. Thank you again so much for watching, listening, and sharing. Until we meet again, I'm Bob Paxton.
I'm Bob Scarborough.
We are the FAIRtax Guys, reminding you the fair tax is the only truly fair tax, and once you understand it,
you'll demand it.
So what do you need from me to get these taxes collected?
Glad you asked, because there is a fair amount of information you need to be aware of.
That's your tax plan?
Oh, no, this is just the revisions for this year's tax plan. What I need from you is you need to keep track of all of your income, as well as any taxes that you've already paid, also any gifts that you received or gifts you've given to churches or charities or individuals throughout the entire year. Do you do any side jobs?
Every now and again.
Great, because there's some more information about that right here. Everything you need to know right here. So just simply compile that, send it in to us. Be careful, make sure there's no mistakes. If we do find mistakes were made, we can fine you or, throw you in jail. So you might want to be aware of that.
And what do you need from me?
As an individual, nothing. As a business owner, or if you're doing side jobs, yes, you would have to collect taxes on that, but,